Hi guys! Welcome to the fifth installment to my Pink Holiday Watercolor series, back by popular demand just for you guys. In this video we are going to paint a very different sort of Christmas holiday tree, and this is going to be more of a Caribbean island style Christmas holiday tree. So we've got a palm/coconut tree happening over here with some baubles and some presents at the bottom. As per usual, if you guys are looking for the base drawing for this, this is only available via email, so make sure you've signed up for my e-newsletters on my website, and I have listed the link below in the description. It's clarescombs.ca. Just sign up on the homepage, and emails go out twice a week. So once in the beginning of the week and once midweek. So make sure you look out for those emails and you'll get the drawing for this video and the previous 4 videos. The Pink Holiday series is a perfect set of pink elements that I have created around the holiday Christmas season, and it's a great DIY Christmas cards or even artwork that you want to gift to friends and family. And these videos are fabulous for people who of all different artistic levels. So if you're starting out, intermediate, wherever you are, come join and let's have some fun. Let's talk about the supplies really quickly, and then we can move on into our painting. So for my supplies, y'all know I'm a Princeton ambassador, and so I have been using these brushes consistently over the last 4 videos for this series. We've got the Princeton Neptune number 6, Princeton Velvet Touch number 4, and then the Princeton Round 0, which is from their Heritage line. For watercolors, again, I've been using the same watercolors throughout these videos, and it's the Daler-Rowney set of 48 Aquafine watercolors. I'll let you know exactly what colors we're using once we get started. I'm also keeping these gorgeous Karen Deco Brush metallic markers right here because they serve such a lovely purpose when you're trying to do tiny little details and say you're not entirely sure if you can get those fine details too well with your brush, but you can use a marker brush, which is fabulous, and they're metallic. Last but not least, and I always keep forgetting to list my paper, this is Etcher 100% wood pulp paper, watercolor paper that is. And if you're wondering where to find these items, I have them all listed in the description below, so feel free to check them out on my Amazon storefront. The holidays are coming up, Christmas is around the corner, treat yourself or treat a loved one who is starting out in watercolor or just wants to try new items. These are all amazing brands and they work fabulously when you are creating your art, so check it out, guys. Before we officially begin painting, I want to remind you guys I am able to make these videos and I'm so grateful for your support. If I can ask you to like, subscribe, and share these videos so you can spread that love, that would be amazing. And make sure you're also following me on Instagram and Facebook so you can share your beautiful creations with me. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is painting the trunk of the tree, and for that we're going to be using these colors. We're using the raw sienna combined with a little bit of sepia hue to get our nice dark tones, and I'll be fluctuating between these 2 brushes, the round number 4 and the round 0 Heritage. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start off with mixing a nice enough transparent, maybe 30-70-ish sort of mixture of my raw sienna. And once that is good enough, we are going to go ahead and dampen this area nicely with the raw sienna. So here we go. I've got some nice little jaggedy bits happening at the top, so I'm very lightly sort of grazing to get nice thin strokes here. And then once I have this set up, or to my heart's content, I'm dipping to get more water and then pulling down all this color downward along my trunk. Feel free to leave a little bit of white space if you want. I think that's always a nice touch. especially because our main style over here is a very loose style of painting, and so that helps keep that looseness when you've got white space. Dipping to get more water, and I'm also keeping paper towel handy just in case it kind of interferes with any of my bows or my presents at the bottom here. You want to skirt around that a little bit. And if you do end up painting over some of the bows, don't worry. It's light enough, or it should be light enough, and we can always go with a darker tone of watercolor to sort of have it see through. Okay, so I've painted most of this area here. What I want to do next is get a little bit more of this color using the same brush directly from the color cake. And I'm adding a couple of strokes here, especially at the bottom, because again, we've got that same texture happening at the bottom. So I'm adding that over here, skirting around the bows and such, dropping the color in. And the key to drop the color in right now is the idea behind the key is that it is still damp. And so if you know how watercolor works, it spreads and blooms and gives you a beautiful effect when it is damp. So this is the wet on wet style. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more of this color. I'm going to add some more strokes at the top. And then what we're going to do is get a little bit of the sienna. And where's that? So for the sienna, I'm going to use the number 0 or 0. And I had it right here. Oh, it's right here. So here's our sepia, not sienna. Sepia. I'm getting the 0, getting a little bit of color. And then we're just going to add a couple of strokes within here. Make sure it's nice and damp. You get some nice fine strokes in here. Just a little bit to kind of really show that there's some shadowy effects within these areas. Okay, so something like that. And then we're going to get a little bit more of this color happening just a tad bit at the bottom before things dry up quickly. We're keeping it loose again. And I'm trying to get a little bit of color, this color kind of happening within the large expanse of the tree as well, or the trunk. Perfect. So we've got majority of this, the trunk done, and now we can go on to do the leaves. And for the leaves, we're going to be painting it pink. I've decided the pinks we're going to be using are Permanent Rose for a nice base wash. And then we're using the, I believe, the Madder Rose or Rose Madder Hue to get our nice darker details. Very similar to what we did with our trunk over here. So similar idea. Before we move on to that, I just want to add a couple of extra additional spots to kind of indicate some detailing within the trunk before it sort of dries up. Gives us a nice texture. And I'm leaving all that white space in there, okay? Okay, fabulous. Now we can move on to doing the leaves. Same idea with the leaves. I don't think I'll be using the number 6 for the leaves because we want to get nice, we want to get that nice thin vein or stem rather, and then we want those tiny little thin strokes, thin long strokes for the actual leaves. So starting off with my rose, Permanent Rose, I'm mixing a nice enough amount, and I want it to be the same consistency as we did for the base. Okay, so that's the consistency we are going with. And once we're happy with this, we are ready to begin. And here we go. So using that nice fine pointed tip, we're gonna make sure we start off with some of the leaves, or this the fronds rather, that are more in the center. We'll leave the two at the bottom for the very end rather. And here we go, lightly grazing to get that first bit in. Maybe even get a little bit of that darker tone and add it to the center if you wish, just to kind of get a nice variation within that. Now getting that nice washed out color, if you still have it, and then we're lightly adding thin strokes and washed out strokes and kind of fanning it out in that herringbone pattern. So these strokes that we're using here are very similar to the strokes we've used over the last couple of videos at least, creating our pine leaves and such. So same herringbone pattern. I referred to it as a herringbone pattern. You might have something else in mind, but this is what I'm referring to it as. Okay, so now we've got that one leaf, and we're then going to get in, so we can switch our brushes, get the 0, get some of that madder rose or rose madder, and drop that in again in the center. Okay, I need a darker tone so that it gives you a nice bloom, and then lightly add a couple of strokes within some of these leaves just to give us a nice contrast. And I'm getting the color directly from the color cake because this is what enables me to get a nice dark potent version of this color. Just in a couple of areas. We don't need this to be all over. Doing a couple of like really fun airy strokes out there. So same idea that we've done here, we're gonna do it for all the other leaves over here. So I went ahead and I did 2 more, and I'm going to do these last 3 again with you guys. And let's just continue to add the base. Feel free to have a little bit of thicker strokes with your loose color for the base. And again, using that nice fine pointed tip, I'm going to get some nice thin strokes within this leaf or frond at the very top. And then we're painting our leaves in. Not all of them need to be fanned out. Some of them could just be leaves that are sort of, or fronds that are off to the side, and so you're seeing just perhaps one side of it. And then going in with the 0, we are adding in our strokes of darker tones in here. Feel free to dip and get some water when you need to. Really does help to get a nice brighter tone in your areas that you want to be more prominent or you want to stand out more. And just like that, we've got majority of them done. If you want to add a little bit of fluffing by just adding a couple of loose strokes at the end to kind of really make them look nice and feathery, now's the time. This way you're getting some nice dark tones, but then you're also getting some beautiful sort of fade. I like to call it fluffing. That's what I refer to as fluffing. All right, so now the last 2 are left right there. Put my water slightly closer so we can speed this up just a bit. So same technique. I am using my number 4, and I dipped a little bit of that second tone just to get a slightly darker color here. And we can even go thicker strokes, right? And then go in with the 0 and get our nice fine details happening in there. So here's our last one, and we are almost done. You don't want all of them to look super full, so it's helpful to have some that just sort of look less full. Scantily clad, I guess. So using the 0 to sort of get some nice details happening in here. If you don't own a number 0, is that what? Would they even say number 0? I'm not entirely sure, but I do. And I would definitely recommend checking it out. It is such a fabulous brush to have for tiny details. And when it comes to paintings like this, there's so many tiny little details that you have, and you might be amazing at brush control, and that's great, but you still need that nice fine pointed tip to give you these beautiful little results. Notice how I'm going a lot darker where it meets the tree. This has always been something I have said, even in my floral compositions. You always want to start darker to the center and then go lighter. So dark to light. And at this point, if you really want to enhance your dark areas and you want to mix a little bit of the raw sienna, sorry, sepia. I keep mixing the two colors up. The sepia with a little bit of the madder, and get that nice dark tone, and then you can drop that into certain areas that are still damp. Even the areas that you want to enhance, starting from the tree here, maybe just the bottom of the fronds, and a couple of strokes to indicate the leaves. Again, to get that nice dark to light, really adding depth to your painting, giving it some nice details that stand out, giving your painting some hierarchy. Notice I'm not doing the full strand, I'm just kind of going in certain areas and kind of lightly adding the stroke in. And this is the part that really enhances, taking your painting to the next level. So do that for the areas that you feel need to work or just have a little bit of highlight, and then come back and we are going to finish the rest. All right, so I think we'll leave the baubles for the absolute last, allow our fronds to dry up some more, and then let's just tackle the little gifts that we have at the bottom. Now, remember I mentioned these cuties on the side over here. You can absolutely use some of these. I'm going to use a little bit of the purple and the green. I think it'll go nicely with our set of colors, and then for the rest of it I think I'm just going to use a version of the pinks that we've been using so far. So let's start off with doing, and here's another way to use these brushes as well. We're going to start off with doing the bows, and I'm going to use the number 4 to get, because it's so potent, these brushes are awesome, and this is such a small area. If you want to get some of the color directly from here, or even just get it onto your plate here a little bit, see, look how much comes out. And then use your brush, mix some of that color up, and let's get to painting our bows. Look at this. Look how opaque it is. It gives you such a thick coverage, or such a potent coverage. It is absolutely stunning. A little goes a long way, which is why I feel if you use it as regular markers, you're not making the best use of it, just because it is, you're just getting a flat coverage. Meanwhile, you could actually use it as watercolor. So using certain areas for dark, certain areas for light. And yeah. Again, with these as well, if you want to leave a little bit of white space in it, that really, really helps. I've got so much color on here that I am going to use the rest of this to paint more. So again, all I did was get a little bit of that onto my brush and then a little bit onto here. And that's what I'm using. I might go in with a little bit of a darker tone to kind of give our bows a little bit more perspective maybe, and depth. But we'll see how it pans out more we go on. Next thing I want to do is get a little bit of green. So I can get some of the green from here, because we don't have any green at the top, so it makes sense to have a little bit of green happening within our presence. So same thing, I got a little bit of the color from there, and we are painting this in, getting our bows ready. I got a little less green happening here, and so it's nicer. And by nicer, I mean it's not as opaque and flat looking. I'm able to sort of play around and move the color around and get different variations to indicate dark, light, shadow, perspective, all that good stuff. Perfect. So we've got one more. I am thinking for the last one we could do a pink just to tie it in with the tree. So I'm going to let's use the base pink that we've been using, which is the rose. Perfect. So we are done with that. And this is where we are now going to progress and paint. Oh, you know what I didn't paint? I didn't paint the little bands. So let's get to doing that first. So let me get some of that purple, paint our bands. Otherwise it's going to look weird. So there's one. Here's another. Be careful if you're painting in areas that you have just painted, because you don't want things to flow into one another, and that is possible. I need a little bit of green, just a tad. Look how much I'm getting, just this much. I'm going to mix that in there, and look how much I got. Quite a bit. Beautiful. And now we need a little bit of pink. So getting some of that from my palette and painting it in here. Perfect. So we've got all of them painted in. Let's get the boxes painted. And for that, I'm thinking if we could do brown, we could choose to do more colorful colors, but let's go with a little bit of a portrait pink. And this is more of a neutral tone, so I think it should look not as bright and overpowering. So this is one of the colors, gives it a little bit of balance because we've got such bright shades going on in so many places. So we've got one there. I'll do another one here. And we can even drop in a little bit of the sepia, just a tad bit, just to sort of give it some perspective. Where's my sepia? Right here. Mix a little bit of that and just drop that in here. Then I said we'd also use a little bit of the pinks that we've used in the tree to sort of tie things in. So I'm getting some of the alizarin, madder rose, and that's what we're going to be using for some of the boxes to tie it in with the darker tones that we have happening there. If you get it mixed with a little bit of the rose red, that's okay. We're just trying to make things feel cohesive by tying them up together, having the colors repeat in certain areas. And yeah. Same thing here. If you want to add a little bit of the sepia to get some of your areas a little bit darker to indicate shadow and whatnot within your present, you can do that. I might just have a little bit more of the sepia within my color so that it's not super bright at the bottom and we get more of a rosy tone happening. It's all about bringing balance to your artwork when you're working with a lot of bright colors, which we are. We could have even chosen to go like a dark green. I think that would have also looked pretty. Or even metallics. Okay, so we've got one there, leaving a little bit of a jaggedy edge there for our final touch of leaves, or base grass, I guess you could call it, not leaves. And here we go for the next one. Be very careful when you are trying to paint in areas that are super tightly associated with another element. It takes a little bit of finessing with your brush to make sure you got enough brush control and it doesn't seep into the next object. Again, the 0 is fabulous for such things, but if you have brush control and you know how to maneuver your way around things, you can just use the nice fine pointed tip of your number 4 and you are good to go. Dropping in some darker tones right where these areas are connecting. Same thing here. And so now in one area, in this area here, it kind of blended in nicely. This one's kind of just sitting on top. This is more of a wet on damp. So what I've done is taken my brush, washed off most of the color, and then with just a tad bit of water on it, I am smoothing it out so it blends in with the rest. Just have to fill in this area here. Perfect. And now we can extend the bottom that we have. So if you're unsure how to do what color is going where, let's dampen the area first. I'm using my number 6, the number 6 brush to dampen the area. I just have water on it and I'm just slightly dampening the area all around. You can do it in sections as well if you wish. Then from there, I'm going to get a little bit of the sap green. Yep. Mix that in with what I have here. And I'm just going to drop that in certain areas there. Okay, and now we're going to take some of the raw sienna, and I'm mixing some of that on here. And we just want a nice light version of this, and we're dropping that in between the greens that we've just added. Now, if you want to give your boxes a nice bit of shadow, wait for it to dry just a little bit and then go in with just a tad bit of the sepia and just add a little stroke underneath here and there. And because it is damp, it'll give you a beautiful bleed, a very like organic looking blend in with the colors we've just added. And there we go, we've got our cute little boxes sitting over there. So the only thing that's left to do are the bubbles. So for the baubles, I'm just gonna flip this over just so it's easier for me to draw the lines in with the 0 without getting my hand on my recently painted presents at the bottom. So for the string holding it, there's a couple of different options. You can either choose to keep things simple and use the sepia hue with the number 0 and just draw the lines in, or you could get some metallics involved, or you could even do, instead of just doing a plain boring line, you could even do little dots in a row to indicate those fun Christmas holiday decorations that you typically see on a Christmas tree, almost like a chain effect. I will leave that to you, your discretion to figure out which of these options you like. I'm obviously keeping things simple and going with just the lines. Fabulous. So they're all done. And now we can get to painting our baubles. Once again, for the baubles as well, you can use your Caron markers, or you can feel free to use some of the watercolors. I am going to use watercolor. So I'll be using the turquoise for one, and then the sap green for another, and then a purple, I believe. So I'm just using this dampening, doing a little bit of a circle, then getting some water on the tip of my brush, dropping that in. So we get a nice little uneven sort of dispersion. And then getting some of the Viridian hue, and I'm dropping that into this area. Gives me this nice, beautiful two-tone effect going on with my bauble. So same idea. Again, you can use two brushes if you want. Like you can dampen the first bottom area with your, let's do this one here, with the turquoise, and then you can use the rest of the, you can color in the rest of it with the Viridian. And this way you've got two beautiful colors that blend so well, give you colors of the ocean almost. And I like to drop in like a darker tone just at the top where it attaches. It just gives it a beautiful dark to light. Same concept that we used, adding darker tones where they join. Okay, so I don't want to prolong this too long. Feel free to use the colors you like. All right, so we are almost done. And here's what we are finishing off with. We're finishing off with some metallic highlights. So I'm using my KMS metallics, specifically the champagne, because I love this metallic by KMS. Actually, I love most of our metallics, but this is my absolute favorite go-to, more so than the pink champagne. And what we're going to do is we are going to start off by painting the little tops of our baubles. You can paint them in or do little fine lines. I'll leave that up to you. You decide which technique you like best. And then we're also going to be using some of these metallics to add some nice little detailing onto your presents or your ribbons if you want to give it just a little extra fancy, festive look, or sprinkle it with some additional glitter, because you can never have enough glitter and shine in your stuff. And I would even fluctuate between maybe two different kinds of metallics just to get some beautiful shine in different sort of tones happening. So I've got bronze. Bronze is the other one that I really like by her. And that might also work well. If you've got a little bit of the metallic seeping into your baubles, that is also very pretty. So don't shy away from it if that happens. Okay, so that's done. And now, like I mentioned, onto the presents. So I'm going to do a little bit of metallics onto this nice bright pink one here. So I'm just doing dots. Again, completely optional. If you feel like yours doesn't need anything and you just want to run with what you have, that's great. I'm just giving you guys additional ideas if you really like to get in and add a couple more details. So there's one. It's very pretty. I'm going to get some of the diamond by KMS and add some within the other two. Actually, maybe just in the ribbon here to make it look like the ribbon has some shine. Give it a little bit of definition. It's not as bright as the champagne, but at least I can see it. Not sure if you guys can see it. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a close-up at the end so you can see exactly what that looks like. Just giving a little bit of definition, because I feel like these ribbons really needed it. That's my opinion. I mean, there's always different styles to art, and so if you're more of the minimalist where you don't need to add too much, that's totally fine and it works okay. If you feel like you want to add just a little bit extra, try something new, why not? You might learn something new in the process, walk away with new skills maybe, or maybe just walk away with a lesson knowing that you are never going to try that again. Either way, it's a win-win. All right, so this is what the final results look like. We've got a beautiful shine to our bows into that one little present, some little bit of shine within our baubles. In fact, you know what? I'm looking at this and you could even add some detail within your baubles too if you want. With metallics, that would be pretty. Make sure you go in and erase all the markings and you should be good. Reminder, if you're looking for the base drawing for this, it is available via my newsletters that go out twice a week for the month of December. So make sure you sign up for that. I've listed all the details in the description below. You just go to my website, put in your email address, and you should get the next email that goes out with links to all the base drawings for the Pink Holiday series. Last but not least, guys, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button, as it really does help my channel grow. And I'd love to see what you do, so please do tag me on social media, Instagram and Facebook, and I'd love to reshare your work as well, with your permission, of course. So thanks guys for watching, and we will chat soon. Bye.